Every day I'm shuffling. All right, so while I had two GigaByte boxes in my hands a moment ago, and do once again, we're just going to concentrate on this one today. We will do an overview or a review or a head-to-head with this one, the RTX 3060 and a RTX 2070 that I already had in my other system. We'll kind of do that head-to-head later, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the X570 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi, mainly because I won the opportunity to buy it. Is that how we're going to say this now? I was lucky enough to be chosen in the Newegg shuffle to get the motherboard and the video card together. One thing about that shuffle, normally I would not do that because I normally don't have a need for another motherboard, but in this case I'm going to be building a friend's computer, and so I will need that other motherboard, and I figured I might as well go ahead and do this. There are some good things about this board, some things I don't quite like as much about this board, but overall it seems to be pretty solid, and we'll just kind of take a look at it and see where it goes, okay? Okay, so I'll probably switch camera angles and show sort of an unboxing or what's in the box. The motherboard is in the box. It is Wi-Fi, so it's got Wi-Fi antenna in the box, the instruction manual, SATA cables, and a few other things. It does also have an adapter for the front panel, which I did think was pretty good because it is really, really difficult to get your fingers in there to try to connect things on the front panel. There are, on the board itself, which I found pretty handy, are two USB 3.0 ports. So if you've got one going to the front panel and one going somewhere else, you've got that covered. They're on the back. Also has an array of 3.0. There are 4 Generation 1 and 2 of the Red Gen 2, which are faster. However, there is no USB-C on the back panel. There is a header on the board itself, which is pretty convenient. The 2 PCIe slots for graphics cards, both those PCIe 16s, if you're using a later Ryzen, will be PCIe 4.0. And the top one is reinforced, which I thought was pretty good. The M.2 slot does have a heatsink on the top one. If you prefer to use the other one, then I guess you can move the heatsink over, but for general purpose, I'm just gonna leave it on there. Obviously, I'll go ahead and open this up and try to show some B-roll of what the board itself and everything looks like and the back panel. And then I will go ahead and take a look and see what the BIOS looks like to see what version of the BIOS is supposed to be on it, or what version of the BIOS it came with, and we'll compare to that to what's supposed to be on it. The other thing is some of the things I did not like or did not care for with this board. There's only a couple. One of them is it does not have a USB-C port on the back, which I think if you're spending $200 and something for a motherboard, by the way, this one dropped in price from the $200 I paid for it to now it's about $180, so shame on you, Newegg, for bundling it and then dropping the price. But it does not have a USB-C on the back. However, I did appreciate that it was on the front. It does have 2 different types of RGB connectors on the board itself. You've got the regular 4-pin, and then you've got the addressable 3-pin. So anybody who's tried to do RGB knows that sometimes it can be frustrating when you have one and not the other. However, one of the things I did not like on the board, and pretty much the only thing besides the USB-C on the back that I didn't care for, was the position of the 2 chassis fans. One of them is okay. It's right by the M.2, the N.2 right about the middle of the board near the I.O., which isn't bad. That's a normal spot for a lot of them. But the other one, you picked a bad spot. I'm just going to say GigaByte. It's up near the CPU power, up in the top corner of the board, where it's usually covered up by either cables or AIO, and it's very difficult to get to sometimes to get your fingers in there. And everybody seems to want to stick everything in there. You got a screw that holds the motherboard down, you got the CPU power. In this case, it's just one 8-pin connector, so that's good. That's kind of a, I realize it might have been convenient as far as layout. It's not convenient as far as trying to put it together. So we will open it up, take a look at it. The construction of the board itself I thought was really good. Really good heat sinks on the VRM. I thought it really quality workmanship went into it. That's the only way I can kind of put that. AMD boards are much better than they used to be 5 or 6 years ago, and that's because Ryzen processors are much better, and so they pay more attention to them. But this board is pretty well made, and does already come with Wi-Fi and everything. So we're gonna I'll give you a little bit of B-roll of me opening it up and kind of looking at the board and looking at the back panel. I'm not sure which order those are going to be in, but we're also going to take a look at a video capture of the BIOS to kind of make sure the BIOS was shipped with the right one. And if not, I'll give that kind of feedback in my final thoughts. All right, so my full intention was to go ahead and somewhere in here add kind of what the BIOS was and a playback of that and all. But I guess I'm going to give you my final thoughts right now. And that's that... well, it says it works with 1st and 2nd gen Ryzen. Wasn't set up for that. Also not set up for the 4000 series Ryzen, so I doubt it would be set up for the 5000 series. Which means I'm going to have to finish disassembling this computer right here, which has a 3600 in it, to see if I can get it to go and see if that brings it up so I can update the BIOS and see what happens from there. So, my conclusion, it seems all the lights light up and everything seems to be okay. I've got everything going, but I can't get it to post. So I'm going to do a little bit of troubleshooting. I have a feeling usually when that happens, it's usually the processor. It doesn't recognize the processor, so I'm going to go ahead and try to take care of that real quick. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and post this video just like it is because... yeah, I told you guys a long time ago that I'm also going to post the fails too. Now, if I get this to work before I can post the video, maybe I'll go ahead and put some editing notes in here or something like that that says that I actually got it to work and it's running fine and I updated the BIOS and maybe what BIOS that was. But for the time being, it is what it is. And I can't finish. So just being honest. So anyway, GigaByte Aorus Elite Wi-Fi X570 board. I'm sure it's a good board. I'll find out as soon as I can get this to actually run in the test setup. Hi, editing me here. Okay, so I did get it to go ahead and post finally. I had to take apart the other computer behind me, the other Prime X470 board that had the 3600X on it. I had to take that off of there and it booted right up. So it is an issue where it does not see the 1000 series, which on the box it says it supports GigaByte. I don't know if you guys want to address that. Or the 4000G, the 4600G. I didn't expect it to support that. It doesn't say anywhere in its description that it does support it. I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. But if somebody is going, say they got a Ryzen 1600, I don't know if that 1600 AF, which is actually built on the 2000 series, I don't know if that would work in there or not. But the regular 1600 didn't work, and I didn't feel like trying to break everything down to go test all of my CPUs. I just I found that 3600X, so I took that out of my other test computer, and that got it to run. It was on BIOS F30. Which allows it to see 5000 series CPUs, which is fine. There have been a couple upgrades since then, so I did go ahead and upgrade it to F34 just to be on the safe side. Overall, my thoughts about the motherboard itself, it seems to be a decent motherboard. It seems like it's going to go okay as far as building. When I was doing a few things, the only thing I noticed when I went to go put in the M.2, the NVMe drive, is the separate standoff and the separate screw are in separate bags in the motherboard box, which is fine, but you already got a standoff there for your heatsink, and it's an oversized heatsink, so it reaches further than the 2280 slot, and it made for a little bit of confusion when I was trying to figure out placement and all that stuff. But that small thing, the only really thing that got me, the only things that I dislike about this board, or I'm not in favor of with this board, is the placement of one of the fan headers up near the CPU. Near the CPU power. I don't care for that a whole lot. I can take or leave the Type-C port on the back because you do have one that will allow for the front panel. I'm fine with that. But I don't much care for your BIOS when all your description, everything says that you will take a 1000 series Ryzen CPU, and yet it doesn't. So that caused me some extra, probably about 20 minutes or so of troubleshooting. And you know, if you say you're going to support it, you ought to support it. Now I realize some of these X570 motherboards and B550 motherboards don't support those, and that's fine. I understand that, but don't put on your box that it does if it does not. Other than that, I found it to be okay, and I think it's going to be all right to build with, and I look forward to doing that. I think the person that's getting this is going to enjoy it, and it's going to do everything they need it to do, and they'll be quite happy with it. So all being said, I think we're in good shape. I hope this video did something. I realized it was kind of hodgepodge and kind of put, it was the first time I've really kind of looked or reviewed or did an overview on a motherboard, so I'm sorry if it didn't meet anybody's expectations, but I figured I would give you the lowdown, and I think I did the best I could here, and I will promise to do better next time. That's all I can do. So like it if you like, dislike it if you don't, but tell me why you disliked it, and please don't blame me for the trouble. Blame me for bad content. If the content hopefully is not horrible if I'm trying to troubleshoot something to get it to work, but hey, I can't be saying that. Anyway, subscribe if you're not already, and to all those that have been subscribing lately, thank you very, very much. It's been a huge uplift, and I've been more than happy to see that, and I'm very, very proud, and I'm very, very thankful. So and I think that's all I got. So with that, folks, until I get the RTX 3060 versus the RTX 2070, which I'm doing benchmarks on, I guess that's all I got for right now. So I'll see you later.